Hey guys, this is the second of 4 City of Heavenly Fire reaction videos that I'm planning to do, and this one is entirely about Simon and Isabelle, and I have a lot of things to say about what happened to Simon and Isabelle in City of Heavenly Fire, so hopefully this doesn't turn out to be too long. I think I mentioned in my 4th predictions video before City of Heavenly Fire came out that I had suddenly started becoming really paranoid that Simon was going to die, kind of out of nowhere, and that kind of stayed with me for a good deal of the book, and I was really worried that he was going to die pretty much the entire time, and then he didn't, but at the same time I was not expecting what did happen, and so I was so worried about him dying that when that all started happening I thought for sure that he was going to die right there, so that had me a little freaked out. But I'm very thankful that what did happen, what did happen was very emotional, but I'm very glad that he didn't die. I was also, and this might be kind of because I was a bit worried that Simon would die, and kind of worried that Isabelle would die. I was worried that everyone would die, but still I was really paranoid throughout the book that Isabelle and Simon wouldn't end up together, probably more so than any of the other couples. I, for some reason, was most worried about them ending up together, and a couple things happened throughout the book that kind of made me even more worried about that. So I was pretty much, up until the end of the book, really worried that they were not going to end up together. Simon getting kidnapped by Maureen. I think I talked about this a bit in my last one, but I thought that that was hilarious. But I was expecting more from that. Like, I was expecting more to happen with Maureen and Simon, like in the same vicinity or something, so I was actually really surprised how quickly that was over with. But I knew they'd all left New York City by that point, and I knew from the inside cover that Simon was going to be with the others for the main portion of the story, because I can't remember what the inside flat says, and my book's buried in a stack, but it says something about all of them being together, not all of them, Simon, Isabelle, Alec, Jace, and Clary being together, so I knew that he had to get out of New York somehow, so I really wasn't surprised when Raphael broke him out. But I was expecting Maureen to be not necessarily involved more, but I was expecting more between her and Simon, but I did think that that was hilarious, and I loved that she dressed him up like a romance book novel lead. Alec walking in on Simon and Isabelle twice was absolutely hilarious too. I knew that was going to happen the one time because we have the spoilery fan art of that scene, but that was hilarious, and the second time it happened was the absolute best. Like, I'll probably talk more about this in my next video that's going to be on Magnus and Alec, but just the second, his reaction, Alec's reaction when he walks in on Simon and Isabelle the second time was the absolute greatest. Alec was the best in this book, but I'll talk more about that in the next video. I thought that that was hilarious. The scene where Simon gets drunk and then starts yelling at Isabelle's window was hilarious as well. I really liked that scene, but it also had me a little bit paranoid because, like I said earlier, I was a bit paranoid that Simon and Isabelle wouldn't end up together, and so that kind of scene kind of had me more worried, not because there was anything particularly worrying in it really, it was just kind of like, I don't know, like I could see how that could lead to problems later or something. It didn't, but I also thought it was hilarious, and now that I'm like not paranoid that now that I'm no longer paranoid that they won't end up together, I can like appreciate how hilarious that scene is even more than I could the first time I was reading it when I was just really nervous. I am not entirely sure how to say Edom or Edom. I don't know if it's Edom or Edom or maybe something else entirely, but their visions, when I want to talk about everyone's visions, but in this video I'm going to talk about Simon and Isabelle's. I really liked that. I mean, we had like an entire chapter that's just these like individual stories of what each character's seeing, and so at first it was really unexpected, and at first I was kind of like, okay, this is interesting, but I didn't know if I really liked it or not. But I really liked that because it did kind of give a lot of insight into what the characters were thinking and how they were feeling and stuff. Simon's vision did have me a little weirded out when he was dating Clary in the vision, because I was kind of like, no, like I said, I was already paranoid about Simon and Isabelle ending up together, and that didn't seem like a good sign. But then the ending of it, when he says Isabelle's name, I probably cried when that happened. I was just so happy. Like, I thought that that was like wonderful. And I really like how that scene kind of shows how Simon's having this vision and him realizing that he's in love with Isabelle and not Clary, but he's with Clary in the vision is what pulls him out of the vision and makes him realize it's not real. And I absolutely loved that, and I think that that was a really, really important thing to do as well, because it really does show that he loves Isabelle more, I don't want to say more than Clary, he still loves Clary, she's his best friend, but like romantically speaking, he loves Isabelle and not Clary anymore. And I really think that that scene showed that, and showed that he really had gotten over Clary. So when it originally was starting, I was a bit worried, but I really, really liked that scene, and I really, really liked how that showed that his feelings had changed, and I just really liked that. Isabelle's vision was definitely sadder because Max was in it. I really, really liked how Max was in both Isabelle and Alex's visions. Why did I just forget Alex's name? And he might have been in Jace's. I can't remember if he was or not, but I really, really liked that. And I thought that it was really, really sad though. It was really kind of like, especially when Isabelle starts realizing that dear God, I cannot say the right names right now. When she starts seeing that Max is, he's not supposed to, like, he's supposed to be aging, but he's not aging, and all of that was just really, really emotional. But, I really, really like how her vision was kind of centered around Max mostly. There was the Simon bit where, like, they were together and accepted and whatnot. That was also really sweet. But I really, really liked how we got that little bit about Max, and it just kind of showing that even though Max died like 3 books ago or something like that, he's still like on their minds, and I really, really liked that happened. Then we have the scene in the cave where they both finally say that they love each other. Simon's already said it, of course, but like this is the first time he says it actually to her, not drunk, and Isabelle says it back, and that was when I was finally like, fine, like as long as they both survived, I was confident that they would end the series together. And I thought that that was such like a sweet scene. And again, Clary was brought up, and Simon's feelings for Clary were brought up, and as much as I wish that it didn't have to be, I do understand, like I really like how Simon reassures Isabelle that he's over Clary, and I just thought that that was a really, really sweet scene, and I really, really loved it. Moving away from Simon and Isabelle as a couple, kind of more to like Simon's relationship with the entire group, I really, really loved the development in all of their friendships that you could see in this book. Like just how close they all are after being like, at the beginning of the series you start off and Clary and Simon are best friends, and then Jace, Alec, and Isabelle are like a group, and they meet, and obviously they're strangers and everything, but like Simon spends a good deal of the series kind of like on the fringes, not really fitting in, and just in this book he's such like an important part of the group, and they all care about each other so much, and I absolutely loved that. And my favorite indicator of that is when they're talking about their strategy, want to like get to Sebastian, and Jace draws the like strategy map in the ground, and they're all teasing Jace because it's a horrible map. And then Simon makes the suggestion of what he would do if he was playing Dungeons and Dragons, and just how they all react to that. Like they're teasing Simon about it, but Isabelle stands up for Simon, and Jace finally admits that it's like a good idea and that they're going to do it, so they all take that Simon's suggestion. And just I thought that I think that scene just showed really well how their friendship had changed since the beginning of the series. I mean, it went from no friendship at all to actually like disliking each other at first, to all 5 of them working as like one unit and being really close with each other and caring about each other. And it was just really, really cute, and I really, really loved that scene, and just how it showed that their friendship had developed over time. So I mentioned in my last video, I think, that basically from the time Sebastian died through the end of the book was just I was just like a giant ball of emotions, and I was pretty much crying the entire time. But like I said, I was really, really paranoid that Simon was going to die, and I was like really worried that one of the like 6 that were in Edom at that point were going to die. Like I was almost sure that one of them was going to die. And so then we had all 6 of them together in Edom, and when Asmodeus starts talking about taking Magnus's life in order to get them back, I was pretty sure that that was going to happen. So I was so focused on the fact that Magnus was going to die that I didn't think that Simon was going to die anymore, because I only thought like one of them would die. But then when Simon volunteered to have his immortality taken away instead of Magnus's, I freaked out, and it was such like a hard scene because like you don't want either one of them to die. And then you find out that if Simon gets his immortality taken away, he's going to survive, he's just going to become human again. So like you want that option, because if Magnus has his immortality taken away, he's going to die, which is obviously worse, but Simon is going to lose all of his memories and not remember any of them anymore. So like both options are really, really depressing options. And so I was just a complete and utter mess. But I also, like I said, I love how Simon volunteered. Like he says, he didn't ever wanted to be a vampire in the first place, so he doesn't really care about losing his immortality, really. But knowing that he's going to lose all his memories of these people that he really cares about, and he still goes through with it in order to save those same people's lives, it's just really, really sweet, obviously, and just made me extremely emotional. The one thing I will say about that kind of like, I wish there had been more between Isabelle and Simon as that was happening. Like when they all think that Magnus is going to die, there's the exchange between Magnus and Alec, which I really, really like, and I'll talk about in the next video. But Simon and Isabelle don't really have anything like that, which wasn't necessary really in the long run, because he survives and they see him again. But I really wish that there had been something. She does try to stop him, and Alec holds her back from actually like moving towards Simon, but I like wish that they'd gotten kind of like a goodbye scene there too, because she didn't know if she was going to see him again, and Simon didn't know if he was going to see her again either. So I do kind of wish there had been more there, but I also really love that scene, because it was just like an emotional roller coaster that just, it was just crazy. Since Simon was still alive, I was almost positive that they were going to see him again, so I really wasn't surprised when we got the scene with Clary, Isabelle, and Magnus outside of Simon's school. But it was really sad when Clary first goes to talk to him and he doesn't remember her. It was a little sad, and I wondered at first how much we were going to see, because I was pretty sure that he was going to regain his memories at some point, but I didn't know how much we would see in the book. Or if it would just kind of be implied that they could become close again or whatever, which I mean is kind of what it was, because he doesn't regain his entire memories before the book's over. But I really like how that was done. I really liked, oh, I almost forgot that I have to mention this. Simon's band name being the Mortal Instruments was the absolute greatest thing, because I mean, obviously that's the title of the entire series, so just tying it in like that, like this indicator that Simon has the memories like somewhere. He has like some vague recollection of what happened because he named his band the Mortal Instruments, and it's not just some random thing that has to do with the Shadowhunter world. Like, he remembered the thing that is the title of the entire book series. That had me extremely emotional, and I loved that, and I just loved that so much. I really did. And I also really kind of found it interesting to read about Simon being kind of like pulled back into the world now that he's forgotten it all, and I really like how that was handled, and how that played out. But of course I have to say that one of the most amazing parts of the epilogue, one of my absolute favorite moments, and this is hilarious to me because I didn't really ship Simon and Isabelle until the last book, and now this scene has become like one of my favorite scenes in the entire series, is when Simon and Isabelle are dancing at Luke and Jocelyn's wedding, and Simon tells Isabelle that he's been dreaming about her all these months since he lost his memories. Like, he couldn't remember anything, but he was having dreams about Isabelle, and that was just great to me, and I loved that. That was such an awesome moment. It's such like, I've said sweet like a million times in this video, I swear, but it really was like, just out of all of the things about the experiences he went through that he could have been dreaming about. He was dreaming about Isabelle for months, and then she shows up again. And I loved that, and I was really happy because I just really like how Simon and Isabelle's relationship was handled in this book. I really liked the development of it, and I really liked how it was handled after Simon lost his memories and how he was dreaming about her and everything, and I just really liked how that was done. And I think the last thing that I have to say about Simon and Isabelle is the fact that Simon may in fact be becoming a shadow hunter, which I think is awesome. Cassandra Clare's being kind of vague about it, like not saying for sure whether or not he becomes a shadow hunter. I'm pretty sure, like, we know that these characters are going to be in the Dark Artifices series. I think it's like, I can't remember how much time has taken place in between the two series. I think it's like 5 years or something. So they're going to be older, and by then I feel confident that it'll be sure whether or not Simon is a shadow hunter or becoming a shadow hunter, becomes a shadow hunter, whatever. So I don't know if we're going to wait until that series, or the Simon short stories were announced. And so since those are going to be centered around Simon, I feel like those will also give us an answer to the question of whether or not he becomes a shadow hunter. Or just, I don't think we have a release date for the Simon stories, so I don't know which will come first and how we'll find out for sure. But I'm pretty confident that he will be a shadow hunter, and it took me like a week after reading the book to have this realization that Simon and Clary could become parabatai. But I mean, that needs to happen. Like, I need that now that I've realized that, like, there's nothing I want more than for Simon to become a shadow hunter and him and Clary to become parabatai, because that is just perfect and awesome, and I love that, and I cannot wait to see for sure whether or not that happens. But I really want it to. But I'm like 99% sure that he becomes a shadow hunter, and that will be shown later on, and I'm really excited about that. But I think that is all that I have to say on Simon and Isabelle. I hope I didn't forget anything. I still have 2 more of these videos to do. The next one's going to be on Magnus and Alec, and then I'm going to make one on Clary, Jace, and Sebastian. And I will see you guys later. Bye.